Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today is part 2 in a tutorial I've been doing where I showed you how to do these crackle sheets. So in the previous tutorial I showed you how to do these dragon scale crackle sheets, and today I'm going to be showing you 2 projects with them. So here are the 2 sheets. Now they've been drying overnight because the alcohol inks need to settle in them before we can use them. So now we're ready to use them, but we need to put a backing on them first. So let's start with that one. And I've rolled out a sheet of pearl white on my thickest setting. And I'm just going to smooth that onto the back. Okay. And that's one. Okay, now let's just check that these 2 are the same thickness, and yeah, they are just about the same thickness. Okay, one's a little bit thicker, so I'm going to start this one, which is the thinner of the 2, on my thickest setting, and this is another sheet of pearl white that I rolled out. And then for the other one, I'm going to roll out a sheet that is on my one setting down from my thickest. And now I'm aiming to make these sheets in total about 1/2 centimetre thick. Let's see, how thick are they? I'll measure them once I've trimmed them in, and I'll tell you exactly how thick they are, because they need to be big enough for me to drill holes in them. So I'll just roll out the other sheet quickly. There we are. Okay, now I've just roughly trimmed around the edges, but there we are. They are all nicely on a backing, and so now we can use them. So just bring over a sheet of plain printing paper to work with, because we want to make sure our backs stay nice and smooth. So I'm just going to go and press light, well, quite heavily actually. This, because we've let it dry for roughly around 24 hours. 12 hours when we did the crackle, and another 12 when we did the alcohol ink. And because it's got so much of that crackle on it, it's not going to pick up fingerprints very easily. So you can afford to be a little more hands-on with it than I am with some of my other veneers. There, now just stick it to the back of the paper. And actually the best way to do it would probably be to do it this way, because I want it to have the texture that the paper has. And I use this paper over and over again until it becomes too dirty for me to use again. So this side's too dirty for me to use, but the other side's fine, because I don't want to be using a new piece of paper every single time. There we are, and that will give it a nice smooth back. Now we can work with it. Now I'm going to be using my waterfall daggers for this, and I'm going to be using my maxi set. So you can see here I've got the maxi set with 2 daggers, and then I've got the normal set which has 4. So you can see. Now I'm going to exclude the 2 largest in the normal set, and I'm going to take, let's see, should I take the largest in the maxi set, or should I take the second one? Let's see. Yeah, I'll take the second one. So this is the smallest in the maxi set. Okay, and now you want to choose a spot on your veneer that you like with your large dagger, because this is going to be our main focal pendant. So choose an area that's going to represent your technique pretty well. And with these nice large cracks that the crackle gave us, I want to put this into the pendant as almost like a little focal piece, and then the normal crackle that we made by Roletto pasta machine, that will be the other bits. Okay, now I really like this area because it reminds me of a river or a waterfall, which is quite nice because these are called waterfall daggers. Okay, so I'm just busy trying to think how I'm going to take it out. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time figuring out which position I like here. Okay, I think I'm going to take it out over here. Now, I'm just going to press down nice and evenly. And I'm just pressing hard to make sure that it's cut straight through. And I'll lift out my cutter. And you can see that we have some of the crackle around the edges. And that's pretty easy to tend to. So let me just pop this to the side quickly. And I'll bring over my dagger and I'm just going to gently trim away any bits of crackle that came off, because we want our sides nice and clean, because I don't want to use a smear on this. So I'm going to trim away any bits that need to be trimmed to give me a nice clean side. So just tiny little bits just to clean it up. That's the cat, she wants my attention. Okay, so just spend a little bit of time going around with your craft knife, and just be careful because you don't want to trim away any of the shape, you just want to be trimming away tiny little edge bits so that you can get a nice clean edge rather than that. And it's important to do this because it will save you so much sanding time. Okay. There we are. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's just a tiny little bit on the edge there. I'll just trim away. Okay. Now just go with your finger and smooth out any edges that you might have made. On these edges here, they need to be smoothed. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that, and that's quite a nice piece. Right, so that's my first one. Bring over our sheet again, and I've got a spare piece of paper off to the side that I'm keeping these on. Okay, now these ones I'm going to be capturing this crackle. I'm not going to be using the big pieces, the large cracks here, because I might want to take out another pendant. So we need 2 of these. So 1. And now because I am working on paper, this is going to stick. I'll just pop that off to the side. And I'll trim these ones just the same as I did the other one, but I don't want to have to show you that. Here's the small one. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to trim. Press it out of the cutter. And cut out this one. And you can see I have quite a bit of veneer left. So I'll keep this for the moment. I might make some more later, but for the moment I'll put this away. I'm going to go and trim up those other ones and then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so I've finished up those ones and they're busy sitting off to the side. Now we're going to do these ones, these 2 sheets here, which are quite nice. Okay, and I'm going to be using my Silos cutters. Let me bring those over, the ones that I have chosen. And you can use any cutters you want. I'm using my cutters, but you can use any that you want. Right, so I'm using the smallest in my maxi set, and I'm using all but the last two in my normal set. So let me just pop those over there. Okay, and so now we want to choose which one of these two sheets is going to be our middle piece. Now I personally think I'm going to use this one because it has the nice large cracks. This one I don't wait for it to dry completely. So I think I use this one where it's got nice large cracks. It will look quite pretty. So again, I have to deliberate where I'm going to cut, and I'm thinking I actually like this section right here where we've got a nice streak going through it. So I press down nice and even. And if you're working on paper, it is going to stick. Okay, so that's our largest one. Now I'll put that to the side. Now I'll bring over the largest in my normal set, and I'm going to take 2 out of this one. Then the next one down, I'll take 2 out of this one, and so on down until I've used all of the cutters. Okay, so here they are now that I've cut them up and trimmed the edges. So I'm quite happy with how this one looks, and this is the other one. So now we are going to put them in the oven. So you want to pop them on a sheet of plain printing paper, like this, on a ceramic tile in the oven. Then you want to take a piece of grease-proof paper or baking paper or wax paper, depending on what you call it. And you want to pop that over the surface of your pieces. Then get another ceramic tile, flip it so that the nice smooth glazed part is on top of, so it's facing downward on top of these. Place that on and then put that in the oven for 45 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature. And then when it's done, you'll bring it out of the oven. Now the reason you need to use greaseproof paper is because this crackle medium that we've used on top will stick to a ceramic tile or plain paper. So use something that is not going to stick to it. Okay, and here they are now that I have finished baking them. So you can see that there are a few light bubbles because unless you have them all perfectly the same height, there are going to be a few areas where bubbles, but for the most part the tile did suppress the bubbles. So here's one where it was resting the whole part on the tile, so you can see that there are no bubbles on there. But you are going to get some around the edges because the crackle is going to go down around the edges just a little bit. So you are going to get some bubbles. But because we're going to be putting resin on this, the bubbles aren't really going to matter all that much, and they will add some texture which will be quite interesting. So I'm not too worried about the bubbles. Now I'm just going to go, and there's some areas on here where the crackle is a little bit unruly. Like, let's have a look. There's a little piece there, a little piece there that shouldn't be there. So I'll go around with my blade and pick off any that need to go. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so that's basically all of them. So now what we want to do is we want to sand the edges, essentially, which is pretty easy. So I'll bring over our sandpaper and we'll start sanding. And because we trimmed up our edges before we baked it, sanding shouldn't take too long. You just need to sand the edges. Don't sand the front because you'll be sanding off the alcohol ink and that crackle. Just sand your edges with your lowest grit, sand your back and all of your sides. And then once you finish with your lowest grit, in my case I'm using a 400 grit. Once you're done with that, go up to the next grit and go up as high as you can. So I'm going to go all the way up to an 8000. And I'll sand all these backs and all the sides, and then we can coat it with resin. Because we just want our backs nice and smooth and properly finished off. Okay, so I have finished sanding everything, and so I'll bring them over. You can see the back's got a nice shine, the side's got a nice shine to it. That's all I need. So I've got all of my beads like that off to the side. Don't need to show you that at the moment, because for the moment we need to mix our resin. There's a little bit of resin over there. Okay, so I've got a measuring cup, my ice resin plunger, which is nice because it measures out your 2-part resin for you, and a skewer to just help me with this. And now I'm going to need quite a bit of resin because I've got quite a few beads here, so I'm just going to squeeze out a fair amount. There we are. Okay, and I'm just going to go pop the lid back on. And then you're just going to mix this for around 3 to 5 minutes until all of the swirls in the ice resin have disappeared, and then once they've disappeared, mix for about another minute or so just to make sure that it's properly mixed in. Okay, so I've finished mixing up the resin, so I'll bring over my resin mat quickly and excuse the colour. Bring over the one that matches as best as possible, and let me just zoom in so you can see what effect the resin has. Okay, so I'll grab that resin and I'll just spoon a little bit on at a time, and then I'm just going to spread this out around the edges because there's a lot of bead or pendant here to cover, and I want to be careful because I don't want to get a spill, because since there's crackle around the edges of this pendant, that means that it's a little bit more susceptible to having spills, because it means that your edge isn't as nice and smooth and straight cut as it usually would if you didn't include crackle. So I just have to be careful. But I do want to bring it right to the edge, so I just have to be careful and go slow with it. Don't add too much resin, and just smooth it along the edges as need be. And I might just add a little bit more down here, but that should be enough. I've covered all the edges and it's fine. So that's nice, it's flattened it out and it looks quite nice. Okay, so let me just gently move that off to the side, and I'll bring over this one, which actually is the pearl white underneath it, and let's see what that looks like. Ooh, once we put the resin on. I like that. Big difference. Now that's nice. And again, it smooths out the crackle, which is a bonus because this crackle isn't the neatest of all the crackles that you could get. I mean, it's a little bit on the unruly side. But once it flattens or hides the texture that the crackle's given, with all of its bumpy edges and bubbles and things like that, it actually looks really nice. So yeah, so I'll continue doing all these pendants until I've coated all of them with resin, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so here are my pieces, and I'll just bring this over so you can see it a little bit clearer. But there we are, I've covered them all in resin. So now I'm just going to bring over this nice long straw, and I'm going to use that to blow away any bubbles. So hopefully you saw that. There we are. And I might just wait another 2 minutes or so for the bubbles to rise and then redo that. And then I will let them cure for about 12 hours, and then we will be able to drill some holes and start assembling our necklaces. Okay, so I've finished resining them. So these are the one set, and let me just move those up so I can show you the other one. And here's the other one. Now I've already drilled some of our pendants. So I've left this one and this one over here for us to drill. But you can see they look really nice now that they've been resined. You can really tell the difference between the ones that have the pearl white clay under them and the ones that don't. So this one's kind of like a nice pastel, while this one's really nice and sparkly. So let's drill this one first, and then we'll get to these ones in a minute. So I'll pop that there, move that out the way. Now I'm just going to use a nice thin drill bit that I think will be the best size hole for me. And I'll just start on one side, drill through halfway. Now I want to try and do this nice and fast so you can see what's going on. And drill through the other way too. There we are, nice and easy. Okay, and just run your drill bit through a few times to clean it out. And then we'll just get rid of that. Okay, so that's the one. There, bring out the other one, and this one I'm going to put a hole through the top. Now once the resin's cured, this is really easy to do. There we are. And I actually have let this resin cure for about 24 hours because a few things came up and I wasn't ready to do a tutorial, so I did drill after the resin had cured for 24 hours. Okay, so now we're ready to string. Okay, so first one we're going to do is the easy one, and I've just got a ready-made cord for me, and this is Acuflex, and this end is going to be finished the same way as this end, so I'll show you how to finish off on the other end. Then I'm going to bring over some clear crystals. I'll just show you what they look like. I thought these would be quite nice. So I'll just bring over a few of those to use. And so string one of those. And then a small one of these. Actually, I want to use this one. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Just wanted to use that one. Oops. Don't know what's going on with me tonight. I'm not thinking. So, it's one crystal, then a bead, then a crystal, and then another bead. I apologise, I was not really concentrating there. And I'll just continue doing that until I've strung all of my beads, and that will be quite a nice necklace. And then we can get on to the other one, which is going to be a different way of stringing it all. Okay, now we're going to do the end. So I'm just going to grab a charlotte crimp and I'm going to string that on, Then I'm going to take a normal crimp, string that just a little way so that it has a tail. Then I'll bring over a plier, I think these are bent nose, so that I can squish that. And then I close the charlotte crimp over the top. That's a really nice, easy way of finishing it off. Then we'll use a jump ring. Open it up. And our clasp. There we go. And then just close that jump ring. Nice and easy. Okay. And then I'll just bring those up to the same length. And there we are. Simple and easy. So that's our first necklace, and I'm going to pop this to the side and we'll move on to the next one, which is these. So first what we want to do is we want to find a jump ring that is going to go nicely through that hole, and you're going to need a largish jump ring for that. So you might have to see which of the jump rings is going to work. So that one's too small. I've got another size over here. This one should fit. And this is why I don't want to make these ones too thick. If you make them too thick, it's very hard for the jump ring to get through. There we are. Okay. Then I'm going to use a bail. Now I've got a choice of 2 bails, actually 3. And I'm going to use my large one here. I think that's going to be nice. Just pop that onto the jump ring, close up the jump ring, and bring that closure in to the middle so that you can't see that. Okay, that's our first one. Then each of these need to have a jump ring through their top as well. Okay, so I'll put those to the side and I'll bring over my chosen cord, and I'm using suede, and I'm also using one of these pinch crimps. I'm just gonna squish that down, and I will bring over a jump ring and one part of my clasp. And that's one end finished. Okay. And I've also chosen some bone beads, and I'm going to use those. Now you might need to just coax the cord through. These have big holes, but the cord is quite wide, so just, if it's giving trouble, hold the cord and twist the bead and it will go on better. Here we are. I'm just going to bring that down. Then I'll bring over the smallest of one of these and string them on. Then I'll repeat that pattern with the bone beads, string on another one, repeat the pattern and then string the one with the bail. And I'll carry on until I've strung all my beads and all my pendants. Okay, so I changed the beads a little bit because I wasn't quite happy with the round black ones, but now I'm much happier with how it feels. Now it's a little hard for me to get on the tile, but when you wear it on a stand it's nice and rounded. So much happier with that now. And so I'm going to grab one of those crimps again, and I'm just going to squish that. Then I'll grab a jump ring, open that up, and the last piece of my clasp. Now you'll have already seen photos of these necklaces. It's a little hard for me to show on the tile, of course, but you'll have seen in the photos what they look like. So that's basically it. I'm really happy with how this looks. It's a little interesting, it's a little different from what I usually make. So here, let me bring that up so you can see. Here we are. Just trying to arrange it nicely on the tile so you can see what it looks like. So I'm quite happy with how that looks. It's a little different from what I usually do. Some of you may like it more than what I do, some of you may like it less than what I usually do. But that is why I wanted to do 2 necklaces. So I'll just bring over the other one quickly so you can see both of them. And the nice one with this one is you might not want to do these two extra ones on each side. You could just do the one with the bail. It would definitely be easier that way, but really up to you. Here's the other one, and this is my classic design, which is actually my favourite. It's really easy to do, it looks very effective, and I really like how that comes out as well. But anyway, those are 2 different tutorials done with the exact same technique, just with slightly different colours. And so I do hope that you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please do let me know in the comments. I love hearing your comments. And if you liked it, please do leave a like. That is also very helpful to me. And if you would like to support me, I would greatly appreciate it if you would become my patron. I have lots of different tutorials on Patreon every single month. They're a little bit more complex than the ones on YouTube, so I like to go into canes, faux stones, different mixed media effects, all sorts of things. So if you want to check that out, that would be super helpful. And the cutters that I used are on my Etsy shop, Jessama Design. I have a whole bunch of different tools and things on there that I'm sure you guys will love, so please do check that out. That will also be in the links below. And as always, I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.